What happens in a classical jam residency, and what is the argument for all of this, quote, eclectic stuff that you guys are doing in addition to playing really great music?
Right. I think classical jam was born about 4 or 5 years ago because I was personally tired of people telling me that classical music is dead, nobody's coming, it's not interesting, our audiences are dwindling, and there are only 5 people in the hall. And I thought, there must be a way where we can engage people, make music interesting again without sacrificing the integrity of what we do. As we were just talking about artistic excellence, that's really important to classical jam. And so we just started thinking about ways in which we can make music, have a great time, do chamber music, and still be able to share it with as many people as possible without sacrificing artistic excellence or dumbing down anything. So we just started really thinking about how can we collaborate, how can we engage with different communities, how can we work with presenters as closely as possible so that we serve their specific community. So basically, I think one of the most important things is that we don't just go into each presenter and be like, this is what we have, and this is just what we do, but we say, what are your needs? So when I went to Georgina and Derek, what are your needs? Who are your communities? Who are we serving? Who are we trying to reach? How can we best help your organization succeed? And I think that's probably a very a new way of thinking of things. For ensembles especially, instead of the attitude of like, can you please hire me, please, like begging presenters. Now I think the new way, especially since this year we're talking about arts advocacy, I think is really important that we really truly collaborate and think about the bigger picture of how can we work closely together so that we can reach as many people as possible and also secure our current audiences. So in terms of the eclectic stuff that you talked about, I don't think we do anything weird. I think what we do is just trying to figure out ways and make it unique in each presenter, such as in Strathmore. We worked with the youth orchestra, and we do a little bit of improvisation in our group. So we, for example, had an improv workshop with the kids, and then actually invited them on stage to perform with us in the formal concert. At Strathmore and in other concerts, we've done that many times, and that's been very successful because now all of a sudden the students are involved, and so they bring their parents and they bring their friends, and now everybody's in the concert hall. They take part in creating a new piece of music, and they get to perform their own piece of work. So we do that model a lot. We also try to program in a way that makes sense to presenters. So I know that at Georgina asked me, what about doing an Eastern program? So we did an all Eastern inspired program with original music. We also had commissioned music, and then also when we were at Michigan, Justin wrote a piece just for the community. Tuba Bach Festival. So we also did exactly the same thing. And actually, sometimes reality hits. Sometimes a presenter wants to hire an ensemble, and they said, we have this much money. Derek talked a little bit about that, but we have only this much money, but that's not quite enough to hire the group. And then I said, okay, let's be creative here. Maybe if we can work together with your local violin shop, for example, maybe they can raise a little bit of money. We can do a workshop with the local violin shop students and do an improv workshop or a master class. We can bring them into the concert, and we can engage the community, and that can get the word out about the concert, about your series. How can I help promote your series too? So we actually did that also
down in Huntsville.
In Huntsville, Alabama. And so actually what turned out was really funny because it wasn't the local students who came to the violin shop, it was the local musicians who came. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. We ended up just jamming on stage in Huntsville, and they, before that we created a whole new piece, and it was great. So now all of a sudden the community is involved, local musicians is involved. So basically, I guess to answer your question, we just try to find as many ways as possible to really engage and really understand and really, like Georgina said, really study a presenter and their background and their needs and their community, and then we create specific programs for each presenter that would work for them. It takes a little bit more work, but it's worth it for us because we feel like we're advocating for the arts and we're advocating for their community, so it becomes a true collaboration.
I mean, it sounds like in some ways it's really the difference between, many of us were trained to program, to start with the repertoire. You start with the repertoire and everything will flow from that. The repertoire will tell you what to do. Should there be a master class? Should there be a pre-concert talk? Should there be the repertoire will tell us what to do. But it sounds like instead what you're talking about is a model where you actually start with what are the goals? Mm-hmm. What are the community goals? What are the engagement goals? And then what's the repertoire that actually serves as the engine for doing that, and then what are the activities that then, promote that as well. So it sounds like actually the model is shifting, but it's shifting to one that's more communicative and more collaborative in a way. Is that, do you think is that accurate?
Yeah, that's
I would say that on the note about community engagement, what is the goal here? Well, I think just in general, when we say community engagement, we're not talking about free concerts for, people that normally don't go to classical music or to chamber music concerts. We're actually looking at it as an opportunity to deepen people's capacity. We're looking at it to elevate an audience's awareness, their listening abilities, their spiritual, emotional, intellectual abilities to comprehend, to understand, to feel. And when these engagement practices, when they get to know musicians and they make work on a composition, they have no musical background, and then they get to hear the group perform something of great excellence, something the group does very, very well. They're going to be closer and they're going to understand, they're going to have a deeper experience because of that connection in the community engagement. And that's going to turn around and play itself out in spades. Maybe that same audience is going to come back to see other things that might happen. Say, wow, I didn't realize that's what happens in classical music. I didn't realize that there's structure and I can hear it now. I didn't realize that groups put all this time and thought into intonation or into inflection. So it's very, very valuable as far as community education is concerned.
Yeah, and I just also wanted to add that my ensemble, everyone, it's a highly trained teaching artist, and they're teaching at major institutions such as Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, New York Philharmonic, and that's really important to me to have these kind of qualities, all of us, so that I know everyone is able to engage to audiences in very different situations. We play from hospitals to libraries to, what else? Senior homes, and we are able to engage in a way that, like Derek said, we can deepen their understanding of classical music, to chamber music, bring them a little bit, having a more personal relationship to the specific music, and basically, it just comes back to advocacy. That's our way of advocating classical music and chamber music.
That's great.